legends. In the heart of a lush, sun-dappled forest, where the trees grew so tall their tips kissed the clouds, lived a curious and cheerful flying squirrel named Darien. Darien was no bigger than a coconut, with a fluffy tail, wide, curious eyes, and thin flaps of skin between his limbs that helped him glide through the sky like a leaf riding the wind. Every morning, as the dew dried on the leaves and the forest awoke with birdsong and chatter, Darien would climb to the tallest tree he could find. The other animals watched nervously from below, clutching their chests as he leapt fearlessly from the very top. His small body would soar across the air, drifting from one towering branch to another with elegant ease. He'd flip, spin, and glide, twisting through shafts of light, looking as though he were dancing on the wind itself. But no one was more astonished by Darien's flight than the monkeys. A whole troop of them lived in the same forest, swinging and climbing from branch to branch, chattering loudly all day long. They were quick, clever, and strong, but they had never seen anything like Darien. "Did you see that?" one monkey cried, nearly slipping off a vine. "He's not jumping, he's flying," said another, his eyes wide with wonder. "But how does he land without getting hurt?" a young monkey asked, scratching his head. The monkeys became obsessed with figuring out Darien's secret. Day after day, they watched him leap and soar, amazed by how far he could go. Soon they started trying to imitate him. At first, they only dared small jumps from branch to branch, but then they got bolder. They began jumping from higher spots, trying to glide like Darien. But it didn't go well. They fell into bushes, they crashed into tree trunks. They bounced off branches and landed in awkward piles of fur and frustration. The forest echoed with, "Ouch!" and "That branch came out of nowhere." After days of bruises and belly flops, the monkeys finally decided to ask for help. They climbed up to Darien's favorite tree, where he was stretching his legs before his morning flight. "Darien!" one monkey called. "How do you do it? How do you fly so far and land without crashing? We've tried everything, but we just fall and flop." Darien turned to them and smiled, his whiskers twitching. "It took me a long time to learn. When I was young, I could barely glide a few feet. I'd fall, I'd panic. I got stuck in bushes more times than I can count, but I kept going. I watched the birds, felt the wind, tried again and again. I practiced every day." "But we're not squirrels," said another monkey. "We're monkeys. We're built differently." "That's true," Darien said, "but that doesn't mean you can't learn. You don't need to fly exactly like me. You just need to find your way to move through the trees. You already have strong arms, fast reflexes, and amazing balance. If you believe in yourselves and if you're willing to fall and keep trying, you'll go farther than you ever thought possible." The monkeys nodded slowly, thinking about his words. And so they began again, this time with patience and purpose. They practiced every day. They studied how Darien moved through the air. They started paying attention to the wind. They experimented with the way they launched themselves, learned how to control their tails and limbs mid-air, and how to relax during the fall instead of panicking. Every evening, Darien would glide beside them, encouraging them, giving tips, cheering for their small wins. Little by little, they improved. Their jumps got longer, smoother, and more accurate. They still fell sometimes, but now they laughed, learned, and tried again. Eventually, they started stringing together longer jumps between distant branches. They were gliding not exactly like Darien, but in a way that was uniquely their own. The other animals began to notice. The birds chirped in approval. The deer clapped their hooves. And at the center of it all was Darien, watching proudly as his friends discovered their own kind of flight. The moral of the story is, you don't have to be perfect or born with talent. Believe in yourself, keep trying, and with practice and persistence, you can soar in your own way.